I do want to play a clip of what Jasmine Crockett said that's gone viral. Listen to this.
It is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far. And I think that that's a natural fear because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people.
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them, I can tell you that there is one specific candidate. I had a donor on the phones with me telling me that all the donors are lining up behind that candidate. So I can tell, and I can tell you it's not a black person nor woman, okay? So like it is, they have, quote unquote, they have chosen, and when I say they, it's the same donors that most likely had their opinions about Joe Biden and move. So like that would be the they that I would talk about. Here's what I want people to understand is I do absolutely agree with Malcolm when he talks about not ceding your power. At the end of the day, don't give up your power. People fail to recognize how unique Trump is. They continue to say, well, we lost. Well, they both lost to Trump. Trump, who is a misogynist. Trump, who is going to ramp up the misogynist in the first place, because that's what he does. He is disrespectful. Like right now, he still doesn't know how to deal with me, because if you punch me, I'm punching back, okay? So like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Now, I know he think he running again. But that ain't happening. I don't care what all is going on in this country. And I don't care how many things we won't say we are absolutely going to do. I am telling y'all with all confidence, he is not running for a third term. That is not a thing.
A lot of attention, and it's interesting. And, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's funny to see even folks who I admire are taking it out of context. That she was saying that almost as if she agreed with it or something like that. It was kind of strange what they were trying to do. Yeah. But no, listen to the full clip. Even the full clip will give you the full context versus just 5 seconds. And then when folks rip your content and then plaster it and put their, you know, branding on it, that's a little bit different too. But I appreciate Jasmine Crockett being so candid and being so open.
Of course, people want to pick up on something and try to make a controversy out of it. Of course, people are going to have the attention span of a gnat and not necessarily think about it in the context of what she was saying. But the reality is that regardless of what the donors, the whoever wants, there are going to be 20, 30, maybe even 40 million primary votes. And only 30% of eligible voters vote in primaries anyway. You know, presidential elections tend to have 60 plus, but the primaries themselves only have 30 something percent. So there's a lot of untapped power. I always talk about the capacity that isn't used during these primaries. And so it actually irks me that anybody would take from what she was saying a cosign behind that mentality of we need to get the safest white boy, because she's the exact opposite. And in fact, she went on to talk about how intimidated Donald Trump is by her being a black woman.
There are other people who interpreted that as Jasmine Crockett saying that it's already been decided, the donors have already decided, there's nothing that you could do. Look what Jasmine Crockett said the quiet part out loud. She was saying quite the opposite.
Right.
She was saying, yes, there are Democratic donors, and they're looking for the safest white boy, the safest white man. But she said, do not give up your power. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. Now, if you don't show up during the primaries in South Carolina, in North Carolina, in Cali, in New York, the primaries are really a national. Georgia. Then that is going to happen. But I just gave the example of President Barack Obama. He was not the darling. Our younger listeners may not know that.
That's true.
He was number 3. It was Clinton, John Edwards, and Barack Obama.
Yep.
Nobody thought in any way, shape, or form he was going to win until he came out and rocked those primaries.
The caucuses actually in Iowa was the first one. Yeah, he won that.
The first one, exactly. So she's saying quite the opposite, y'all. She's not saying, oh, it's already done, they already decided. No, she's saying that you could show up and you could change it. Do not give up your power. Don't accept the direction that Democratic donors want.
Yeah.
And once they see the candidate losing every primary like Hillary Clinton did, it was a wrap. Super Tuesday, he mollywopped her. So it's quite the opposite. Like the late, great Joe Madison would say, listen with your third ear, look with your third eye. She's saying, look, she said it, it's done. There's no point. And I rarely react to comments on YouTube. I get it. But one person said, see, she said it. What's the point of walking around with your clipboard and knocking on doors? That is exactly what she's saying, why you should do that. To not let the donors rule everything. And there's very little, I'm not saying there's no voter suppression during primaries. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that you worry less about voter suppression during a Democratic primary.
Yeah.
So we could do it. And you've been saying this for half a decade, Reese, damn near.
I know, oh my God.
It's all about these primaries, y'all. That's what it's about. I mean, Kamala Harris did not make it to the primary.
No, she actually didn't. She dropped out before the first. Actually, all of the Black candidates did. Cory Booker dropped out. Deval Patrick, remember, he had a short-lived run.
And do you recall with Biden? There was that big article. He was dead in the water.
Yeah, because he didn't win the first 4 or 5 contests.
Exactly. They were like, there's no way Biden's done. Biden should drop out. It's a waste. It's Bernie or Warren. Remember that?
They wasn't watching my videos if they thought it was going to be Warren.
And I think we all know that Bernie or Warren, they would not have won. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think they would have won in 2020. Nonetheless, she was saying quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out. But, hey, I'm glad people are hearing what she's saying. They're looking forward to our town hall. I appreciate it. But even people who I really love, they're misinterpreting it wrong. And even people who are in media, they could fall victim to just watching a 5-second clip. It's very interesting. Like, bro, it's only 90 seconds that I posted. You just watched the first 10 seconds. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't say super delegates are looking for this. She didn't say, you know, she didn't even say the DNC. She specifically said donors. So, but we have this fight. And I have to say that nobody fights harder than me against our people on this issue of every election, every position. I'm not even talking about just president. I'm talking about mayor, senator, every position. We have to fight with our own people to say that Black people are electable. We have people in the comments on these videos saying, oh, we ain't never gonna have another person of color. We ain't never gonna have another Black person. And I'm like, staring in Barack Obama? What are you talking about? What are you fucking talking about?
Staring in Kamala Harris, who was the VP, who broke fundraising records. I know we want to forget that, but that's okay.
Oh, and I know people want to also forget because everybody had their Chucks and Pearls on August 6th or 7th, 8th, or 9th, 10th, whatever it was. But 3 days earlier, you had Jonathan Capehart on MSNBC talking about Aunt Gloria said it needs to be worn. You had all the Warrenistas writing fucking editorials about how she's going to be savior of the Black race. And you had all these profiles from Black voters in Michigan on how we can't take a chance on having a Black woman VP. I remember that because I was fighting that battle as a Kamala Harris supporter of Black people saying we cannot risk it. That's what they always, we can't risk it. We can't risk it. We can't risk it. We have the same battle here in Maryland with Angela Alston-Brooks. Oh, it takes a white man to beat a white man. David Trump got money. Larry Hogan is too popular. We can't risk it. We can't risk it. We can't risk it. We can't risk it. And guess what? She mollywopped David Trump in the primary, and then she mollywopped Larry Hogan, former governor. So why do we count ourselves out first? That's what I don't understand. Now, obviously, the loudest ones don't mean that that's the biggest quantity, because obviously there are a lot of people that don't say shit and they're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still voting for the Black motherfucker on the ticket, because you would not have guessed that Angela Alston-Brooks was going to beat David Trump by 12 points rather, if you had only listened to the people. We can't take a chance. We can't take a chance. We can't risk it. But she did. So I'm hoping that it's less of a battle, because I want us to just smarten up. Listen, if a Black person can't win, they won't win the primary. They won't win the primary. So you don't even have to worry about them. Oh, if I vote for a black person, they're not going to win the general election. So I'm just wasting my vote. Well, guess what? If they can't win the general election, they won't win the primary either. So boom. So I'm sick of having this conversation because we're the only ones that vote as a proxy for another race of people who have the exact opposite. And that's not the whole race has the opposite opinion, because to be fair, 45% of white voters are Democrat. Okay. I know that they don't get credit for that. But the reality is
we do forget that number. That's a key number, right?
Yeah, it's 40-45%. In certain states and localities, it's 70%. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
it's not like it's black voters against the whole world.
Like
it's
Oregon, Pennsylvania, like you're at like 7-5.
Yeah, shit. DC, and
folks who are voting, not the population.
Not the population. Talking about voters, not people stay at home. So my whole point is that we have the numbers on our side to make the difference. In every electoral swing state, we have the numbers to make the difference. We have the numbers to make the difference in the South. So we have it
in the South.
Oh my God. Jesus. So it's like
Texas.
Why do we have to fight with convincing black people that black people can win when black people have won? Now, Kamala Harris did lose the election. Every analysis, not people's feelings, of the data showed that she did just as well with white voters that she did than all the other candidates. It was the drop off in turnout. The reason why her margins were different with black voters, Latino voters, and Asian voters is because the higher propensity voters are Republican, unfortunately. That's across demographics, racial demographics. So that number is baked into the cake. Now, if the lower propensity voters drop off, then now the margin looks like it's swung harder towards Republican, when that's not what happened. If you have 10 million motherfuckers stay home, the margins are going to look different. Duh, that's why he won.